Hi, today's movie is the 1979 American telemovie Vampire. Now, I don't know much about this one other than it has a fantastic cast, and from what I remember, the late 70s were really a great time for supernatural themed telemovies, so I'm quietly hopeful about this one. Let's check out Vampire. Print quality is not great, but doesn't matter. Jason Miller from The Exorcist, of course, he was the younger priest in that. Jessica Walter, of course, the fantastic Jessica Walter from Arrested Development, Play Misty for Me, et al. Stephen Bochco, okay. Ooh, that's a nice opening shot.
Bless this cross, that it may be a saving help to mankind.
E.G. Marshall, who's in everything.
And encouragement to good.
Oh, what's happening there? The ground is burning from the shadow of the cross. That's a great horror concept. He looks like he's already got suspicions about something bad happening, this guy. Another fantastic shot. This is very well directed so far. That can't be good. What's buried under there that's happening? Is that growling? Wow. So it's the shadow of the cross that's revived, I'm guessing, the vampire that's buried here. Ooh. Wow. This is a powerful first few minutes of this movie.
And then, wow. It's been 4 weeks.
Jessica Walter looking fantastic there.
I feel wonderful.
You know, Les, I used to think that being the hottest lady lawyer in San Francisco was where it was at.
This is our hostess, Leslie Rawlins. Anton, very nice to meet you.
It's my pleasure. I admire your collection, especially...
This actor was in everything back then. Always great.
As always, thank you.
So if he's the vampire, I love that he's dressed all in white. That's very novel.
Thank you, John, for a delightful evening. And not, I confess, purely accidental.
Oh, huh?
I don't know if I've ever seen a blonde vampire before, if he's the vampire. Except for Ingrid Pitt in Vampire Lovers, of course.
I feel as if a very warm and deep friendship has just begun.
Attic over on Avenue Lesson, surviving on...
Something tells me the vampire's going to come between this happily married couple.
Wow.
Oh, do you remember the Heidecker estate?
Of course. The land it used to be on is incorporated in the Bryant Park project.
Didn't the entire family disappear mysteriously sometime in the late 1930s?
Right. And between the time they disappeared and the estate fell into ruin, it was bought by proxy by a wealthy European family fleeing the Nazis. They never made it here.
That's right, yes. There was something about that in the title search.
The wealthy European family was Anton Voytek's. He has no intention of tying up the land in litigation. He has no interest in it. However, before the family perished, 8 centuries of family heirlooms and treasures were smuggled out and shipped here to the Heidecker estate. Anton has shown me renderings of an underground complex, deep stone basements and tunnels where everything was supposedly stored, awaiting the family's arrival.
But
So
the
that
estate is
explains
gone,
why he was
demolished
buried
over
under
30
the
years
ground.
ago. There's no way.
Even if we knew where to dig, the sheer weight
European
of the land and the
vampire
weather would
family
destroy
sent
just
out
about
their
everything under it.
belongings
Not
and
to mention the
presumably
cost. You see,
themselves
you need experienced
to America
field
during the war.
archaeologists, hand-digging
Everything listed. Everything that Nicole called lost or destroyed, each of those paintings was looted.
What?
Stolen over a period of centuries.
So we've got two narrative strands happening here. One is some unsolved murders, and the other is the buried art treasures and possessions of Voytek, who we presume to be the vampire. What is this guy? He knows something about it. I like this plot strand of the buried art treasures. It kind of fills in that background of how a vampire is always so rich. Oh, they found all the buried treasures. So if Voytek's family buried all these treasures in the 30s, why was he buried also? Why was he in the ground for 40 years? Uh-oh.
Yeah. What's wrong, Harry? You need this to remember old times?
Ernie, I hung this around his neck 30 years ago.
Okay.
You guys sure went back. Bernier, disappearance. What was it, 46, 47? Right after the war.
So I think E.G. Marshall's character knew what was going on before the things were buried.
Skull and Bones belonged to a one-time cop, a precinct captain, who retired from the department in the 1930s to become a priest.
Oh, interesting.
Why do I know that name?
Because he founded the original...
And I'm guessing the cop who died was the partner of E.G. Marshall's character.
Until you can satisfactorily prove ownership of these paintings, you're charged with conspiracy to commit grand theft. I'd like to read you your rights. You have the right to remain silent. If you give up the right to remain silent, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to speak with an attorney.
Does not look happy.
I trusted you, Rawlins, and that trust cost me everything I treasure. I assure you, you'll be repaid. In kind.
Uh-oh. How's this gonna go? Vampire in jail.
Hey, man. That's a nice coat.
Cool. This is a really interesting vampire character. Oh. Wow. This is really cool. It's a shame they didn't make it into a series. Oh, I bet the vampire's going to want to steal this lady away from Jason Miller as part of his revenge.
I felt enormously drawn to you that night. Let me hold you.
Oh, no, please.
Please, just for a moment.
Watch your neck. I'm guessing this will be in the wake of Frank Langella's Dracula, which kind of introduced the super sexy late 70s vampire.
Yo, Rawlins.
Is she still alive?
Rawlins?
No, the vampire's going to want to turn her, isn't he? This movie really does a great job of bringing vampire into the modern setting. So I'm guessing Anton has killed Jason Miller's wife. Jason Miller's really good at playing these haunted characters. He's got such a great haunted look about him. Uh-oh, he's going to break into the vampire's apartment. This can't be a good idea. This vampire's got excellent taste. Oh, nifty. Secret hidden coffin room behind the mirror. Love it. This is really well written. Some great vampire concepts in this movie. I want to know more about E.G. Marshall's character.
Barrie with me.
He's got some secrets, I'm sure of it.
Rawlins, the architect guy, huh? Guess he's a little nuts since his wife got done.
Ooh, cool. I'm hoping he's going to be the Van Helsing figure who's going to help him fight the vampire. Ooh, what's that book? I want that. Cool cover. I want to see that book again. That looked amazing. Ooh, he's on to him. He knows what's going on.
Maybe we got a copycat killer, too. Those throw killings in the 30s and the 40s, I'd hate to think we're developing a new epidemic.
Excuse me,
Okay.
Hey, Captain, they checked Rawlins into base psychiatric.
So the vampire was on the loose in the 30s and 40s.
He flipped.
What was he doing in the
He took
meantime?
crosses, wooden stakes off them. Nobody could figure out what he was going to do with them.
That's a really clever contemporary thing to add in, that someone who's realised what's going on with the vampire is immediately intercepted by the mental health system. Ooh! Wow! Look at that! That's fantastic! Love it! Oh, this is brilliant. The vampire is in the psychiatric hospital.
Oh.
She invited me in, Rawlins. It was so easy, so passionate. You pig, you filth. It's time, Rawlins. Do you hear it, Rawlins? Sound of blood.
Not only do you intrude, but you insult as well.
And stop waving that piece of junk at me. Remember my face. I'll never forget yours. Never.
Wow. What a fantastic scene.
Hey, not so fast.
That was awesome.
Take it easy.
I love the way Richard Lynch is playing his vampire. And you get the sense that he really does view people as little playthings, like animals or something that's underneath his level of existence.
Took me a long time to realize that if you truly accept the existence of God, then you also have to accept the reality of evil.
Love the way E.G. Marshall's playing it. It's so low-key.
Sit down. Look, you're not involved.
Fantastic for a vampire hunter.
I thank you. I'm grateful to you. But why don't we
Officially,
leave it that
we were
way?
looking for a homicidal maniac, but Bernier didn't see it that way. He'd always been religious. And in time, he came to believe that what we were looking for was...
A vampire.
Yes. Finally, it got so bad, he took an early retirement and entered the seminary. A few years later, he founded St. Sebastian's in Bryant Park, a stone's throw from the Heidegger estate. The place where he'd always sensed what he called that malevolent presence.
Love this backstory.
If I had a buck for every
I want a
malevolent
film
presence
about
off of
this
Market Street.
cop who became a priest, vampire hunter.
This was his. He probably realized that Voytek, or whatever he called himself then, was holed up in the Heidegger estate. And he must have trapped him into a showdown. Faced with his own destruction, Voytek could have brought that whole place down on both of them, killing Bernier and burying himself for almost 40 years.
There we go.
I guess
That's
all
how
that
it all happened.
construction, along with the building of the new church, must have stirred things up.
And made me look into his eyes. I saw what my wife must have seen. And I tried to fight it with everything in me, just as I know she tried, but it was impossible. Those eyes were so hypnotic, I belonged to him. for an instant I wanted to.
Great script.
He described what he called the golden vampire. This vampire was a prince in what is now called Hungary. The earliest known account is from the 13th century.
700 years? Sorry.
This is fantastic.
My
This legend
guess
of the
is
golden
we have
vampire.
at least 5 or 6 sanctuaries
How long
scattered
now?
all.
I can see that old twinkle in your eye.
Interesting how much of
I
a
haven't seen that
religious
since before
underpinning
morning
this story has, even though it's set in
Old
1979.
They never rest.
Oh, don't give away the crucifix. Now she's going to be in danger.
You'll be a good boy, baby.
Every child in the 1970s on television had that haircut. Vampire's going to be coming after her.
I'd like 'em pointed at one end, Frank. What are you into these days?
I
Camp?
love this. He's getting his steaks made by his friend in a woodwork shop. I have never seen this in a vampire story before. These two are great as a pair of supernatural investigators.
Then let's get going.
It's a shame they didn't extend this out to a
Don't think
series.
for a second those boxes are still at that Howard Street address.
Something tells me E.G. Marshall's not going to make it to the end of the movie.
I mean, we could get lucky.
If the vampire has claimed this theatre as his lair where he's hiding his coffins, that would be such a fantastic touch. Creepy old theatre is perfect. This film has been so not theatrical, it's so low-key. Bringing in a theatre
Hey, John.
seems like a nod towards the theatrical tradition of a lot of vampire films, which are quite theatrical, as opposed to naturalistic. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I guess what I'm saying is this film is going for quite a different style, which is extremely naturalistic, as opposed to the heightened drama of some vampire films. I love them all. Oh no!
Oh my God, no. No, it's not Leslie. No. He's taunting you. Don't let him. Don't force her now, son.
No wonder they'd bring back his dead wife. That was nicely handled, although I would like to have seen some fangs. But they really are showing a way of showing anything that's overtly supernatural, which is an interesting choice. They're keeping everything on a really believable level. Vampire at the Disco! That's what I want to see! Richard Lynch has got such a fascinating face, and he's on that knife edge between handsome and sinister.
If you touch her, just a stroke or two for the moment. But I am going to touch her, Harry. I promise you that.
Creepy.
She's going to love it. May God strike you dead. Oh, yes, Harry. But that's a story I'm saving for you.
Fantastic. E.G. Marshall is just selling this so brilliantly. He's got such gravitas.
Like he thinks, Harry. A prince, riches beyond compare, a property owner, but because he can't step 1 foot into daylight, who does his business for him, Harry?
Minions. I knew it. He's got minions. Got to have some wives. Oh, it's Jessica Walter! Brilliant twist!
Nicole, it's me, John Rawlins.
In there.
So is she a vampire already, or is she just his slave in his thrall?
We've already done the theater.
I love how they bring in these elements of a police procedural from the 70s and they superimpose that onto the vampire story. It's fantastic. Oh no, he's gone!
Nice bluff. You must have been quite a cop in your day.
I still am.
Fantastic. Great character development and the relationship between these two is very nice. Oh no, an old windmill. perfect setting. It's a windmill like you might see in Frankenstein, but it's covered in graffiti like from the 70s. So many great touches in this movie. I say windmill, but it might be a silo, I don't know. So far, it's a vampire movie entirely without blood. Yet, it's still very creepy and intriguing. Oh, who's in the casket? Nobody. Ooh. That's a great touch. The film succeeds so well in selling the realism, the reality of this world, these characters, that it can easily get away with when they add in these supernatural touches, like the cross setting the vampire's casket on fire. I wonder if this was on the heels of the success of The Night Stalker. If I have one qualm with this, is that I think we don't see that much of the vampire. I mean, he's tantalizing, fascinating, mysterious, but we haven't seen that much of him. I love the pairing of these two widowers as the vampire hunters. I want Harry to make it to the end of the movie, E.G. Marshall's character. I don't want him to be killed. Sleeping in an open casket, that seems risky. Great shots. Beautiful. Look at the sky. Fantastic. They really made an effort with this telemovie. And I love the suggestion of the supernatural powers the vampire has to enthrall people.
Think. I'm giving you an opportunity to leave.
What's he got?
You've earned it.
Holy water.
Pursue this madness further, and I want you.
Ooh. Come on, A.G. Marshall. Oh! Woo! Wow! Is he hitting him with the crucifix to make those sparks? How are they going to catch him?
You okay? That's all right. We're safe for tonight, at least. It's not over, Harry. I know that. I know that.
How are they going to wrap this up? We've only got a few minutes left. Was this the pilot for a series? This looks like the closing shot to me. I don't know what else they're going to do. No, that's the end. Ooh. Wow. That was really impressive. Wow, I really enjoyed Vampire. I thought it was such an impressive telemovie, and it really did seem like it could or should have been the pilot for an amazing series, but I guess that didn't happen. What's so great about this telemovie is it joins together these styles of a very straight-laced police procedural with the vampire genre, and it does so incredibly successfully. It creates a really low-key, naturalistic world into which it brings this amazing golden vampire with his 700 years of backstory and the backstory from the 1930s with the serial killings that the vampire did. And it turns all this into an hour and a half of riveting drama with a supernatural undercurrent to it. The cast was fantastic, but really for me, the one who stole the show is E.G. Marshall. because he plays it so incredibly realistically, so naturalistic, so low-key. And to have this very low-key, straight-laced, widowed, retired cop as the vampire hunter, I think is a stroke of brilliance. Teaming him up with Jason Miller's also widowed character makes them into this pair of kind of wounded older guys on a mission to get this vampire. Whether the film was intended to go to series and that's why it's not fully resolved at the end, or whether it's a touch of realism that these two guys really don't have any hope of combating a 700-year-old vampire with these mystical powers, I'm not sure. And I guess you could read it either way. The script was by Stephen Bochco, who went on to do Hill Street Blues and LA Law and NYPD Blue, so many amazing writing credits to his name. And this is really another fantastic example of what made him so successful as a screenwriter. All in all, I thoroughly enjoyed Vampire, and if you're in the mood for a really interesting, very well done 1970s vampire telemovie, I could not recommend Vampire more highly. I really wish this had gone into a series because all the elements are there to make a really fascinating series, along the lines of The Night Stalker, but perhaps without those touches of humour which gave more levity to The Night Stalker. If you've enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye.